Let's talk about salt and pepper. Let's talk about Spinderella. Let's talk about lady rappers and female DJs that we remember. Hello, welcome back to my show, Bad 90s Music, where we wax nostalgic about music from the 90s that not everybody seems to remember quite as well as they should. These are the aims of this show. We look back on sort of a major artist of the 90s or someone who was big at the time and go through a bunch of their songs, some of their hit songs, some non-hits, and try to figure out whether they deserve to be remembered better than they are. So this week, I'm really excited about this one because I'm going to be talking about the band that you just heard, Salt-N-Pepa. So that song's called Push It. That was from late 80s, actually, 1986. Salt-N-Pepa were a group that met each other in college, started rapping together, they formed a group. There were always female rappers, and they were not only some of the most important female rappers ever, they were probably one of the most important rap groups, period. That song, Push It, came out pretty much at a time when rap music was still kind of a novelty. It probably wasn't totally taken seriously by a lot of people, either as an art form or even as a commercial force. You know, it probably seemed like something that was going to disappear, probably before the decade was even over. Well, I think Run DMC had already come out, but before stuff like Public Enemy had come out, Beastie Boys' album would come out that same year. It's just before NWA and things like that. A lot of the rap that you heard was just, a joke. But that groove that you heard right there, that was something that just grabs you. It's really, even for the rap music of the time, it's very aggressive, and that was Salt-N-Pepa's style right away. Basically, they never took any prisoners. They always sounded like they were in charge. They sounded super confident on everything that they ever did. Style is pretty old school. Even by 1986, I would think that this sound is kind of old school. I mean, listen just to the drums and the production on this. This is breakdancing style production already. Yeah, this is very classic rap style flow. Sounds kind of like Planet Rock at this part. It reminds me of Rockin' a Planet Rock. You hear the little cowbells, you heard those, the hand claps, the little production flourishes like that. That was what old school 80s style rap production sounded like. And right away it's a song that's just so forceful and so immediately memorable. I'm amazed that Salt-N-Pepa didn't turn out to be a one-hit wonder just based on the type of song that was. They are here to make a statement. It may not necessarily sound like they're here to stay, especially when you think about how much rap changed between the time this came out and by the time it was the 90s, it was already totally different. There wasn't any more rap that still sounded like that. Their style, I think, held up, but the amazing thing about Salt-N-Pepa, what makes them one of the most important rap groups of all time, is that they were able to change with the times. They were able to keep themselves relevant. And this song's called Let's Talk About Sex. It's from their album called Black's Magic. I'm sorry, I can't always tell their voices apart. I believe this is Salt doing the first verse. Yeah, that's Salt in the video, I can see. I love those rhymes. Don't be coy, avoid, or make void the topic. So you hear those drums, and that production already is very different. The beat is a lot less sparse. It's a lot more soulful, too, in the chorus. It's a lot more melodic. This is how much rap had changed between 1986 and 1990. To be honest, Salt-N-Pepa were probably a big part of that. So this was a really big hit at the time. This was the song that kids in my elementary school would sing whenever they wanted to make the teacher mad. I didn't even know this was a real song at the time, to be honest. I thought this was just some, playground rhyme that the kids made up. But it is a very good song. It's a very catchy song. They even did a remix of it called Let's Talk About AIDS. That escalated quickly. Salt-N-Pepa were always very pro-women, and they were very sex-positive all the time. And that was sort of what made them more groundbreaking. Like I said, there were always female rappers, but as far as the subject matter that they could talk about or that they could get away with singing in their songs, they really expanded on that. A lot of the early female rappers were just kind of novelties. They were just basically trying to copy the men. Some of them would occasionally do kind of something from a more feminine point of view. Salt-N-Pepa really made it so that you could not ignore them. They got away with saying this stuff, I assume, because it sounded like they would kick your ass if you gave them any hassle about it. So this song, basically what they're trying to do is just open up the dialogue. They don't even really end up talking about sex in this song very much. The whole idea behind this song is that it should be okay to talk about sex, and this was back in 1990. I think the nation was still very conservative as far as what you could talk about on the radio. You know, it had only been a few years before that the PMRC was formed, and you know, people were banning Prince records and things like that. It just seeks to destigmatize the entire dialogue and say, look, there's nothing wrong with this subject matter, and we need to be able to talk about it because it affects all of us. We need to find a positive way to talk about it because it can cause a lot of problems. That's, you know, they say let's talk about the good things and the bad things. This is something that can definitely make people's lives better, and it is also something that can make people's lives worse. And if you don't have that sort of conversation, if you don't have that open dialogue around it, you're just going to be stuck with a whole bunch of confused people. That's their statement on this song. And it's about as close to a political statement that you'll hear on any of their songs, but they do cover similar subject matter to that. They did open things up, okay, for more female rappers to sort of be upfront about their sexuality and kind of be in your faces about it. Salt-N-Pepa always kept it classy, though. Nobody considered them trashy or skanky for the stuff that they talked about, because they were always very matter-of-fact about it, and it never felt gratuitous coming from them. That's the difference between them and a lot of people that came after, you know, who kind of carried things a little more further, who got, like, really explicit. It's like, okay, you want to talk about sex? Let's see how much of it we can actually get away with talking about, Little Kim. There were a lot of female rappers in the 90s. There were so many female rappers that at one point you could do a all-female rap song that samples Kool and the Gang's Ladies Night featuring Angie, Left Eye from TLC, Da Brat, Little Kim, and then just throw Missy Elliott on there as an afterthought. Like, that's how many of them there were. I don't know if there's still as big of a marketplace or as big of an audience for female rap. I'm going to argue that there should be, and it should always be a positive thing. So this is called Expression, from the same album, Black's Magic. This is really socially conscious hip-hop. I love when they diss men. It is so much fun. They're kind of dressed up like Run DMC in this video. Leather jackets, top hats, things like, not top hats, you know what I mean, those hats. Okay, this one's called Independent. So this is basically Destiny's Child's Independent Women, fully 10 years earlier. See, they don't need no man. They get men because they like them, not because they need them. And see, this was sort of the way that the climate got towards the start of the early 90s. That was the first time that I really remember things like feminism and political correctness becoming talking points. Those concepts had not totally been demonized yet. They were still things that were okay, or considered okay, to start talking about because they were sort of newish buzzwords in the culture. I know that those terms both existed earlier than that, but the early 90s is when I first remember that stuff coming to the fore. As far as being at the forefront of that type of movement, they definitely, you know, saw themselves as being spokespeople. You had other rappers also who were kind of tackling that kind of subject matter, like MC Lyte, and Queen Latifah especially. Queen Latifah just straight up went out there and said, "Who you calling a bitch?" But clearly, people like Salt-N-Pepa or other female rappers had noticed that a lot of the rap that was getting really popular, while it was, you know, it was good for the genre, it was bad for women, especially the way that they talked about women in their songs. People like Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre saying, "Oh, we don't love you hoes." They took issue with them, and Queen Latifah and a lot of these female rappers at the time. There's a Lady of Rage, who's also, you know, my rough and stuff with my Afro puffs. A lot of really aggressive, outspoken female voices who were basically standing up for their entire gender in the rap game. Later on, I felt like when women got more accepted as rappers, they kind of brushed that aside and been like, oh, okay, now women as rappers are just going to be basically the same as regular pop stars. And they're not going to be as strong in their opinions and in their voices and their causes. Their activism, even. Salt-N-Pepa were definitely activists. So this is a song that you might know about thanks to the Deadpool movie. That's the last place that I remember hearing this song. This is Shoop.
Here I go, here I go.
Here I go. Peppa starting this song off. See, this group really looks like they don't take any shit from the men. Their rapping style stayed basically the same as it was in the 80s, it's just the production that got updated. But the thing is, it still works. This song is about hitting on men, so I assume it's some kind of sex thing, but yeah. If anybody knows the exact meaning of shoot, let me know. Here's Salt's verse. Okay, I remember this one. Like Scooby-Dooby. Okay, there's a male rapper on this. I don't know who this is. Some guy named Big Twan, I guess. That's a song from Deadpool. So that was, I believe, the first single from the album Very Necessary, 1993. This next song I'm going to play was actually their biggest hit, and it heavily samples this song called, it's called What A Man by Linda Lindell, was the original artist. This white soul singer who ended up getting harassed by the Klan. You should really read her story, it's really sad. But anyway, what ended up happening was Salt-N-Pepa basically covered or sampled her song. In the other version, it's called Whata Man. So Whata, one word, and then man. I think it really helped her career. I read somewhere that she had quit music because she was harassed by racist motherfuckers she sang with a lot of prominent black singers, and then she went solo, and then her personal music was in the style of the same singers that she was writing and performing with prior to that. And so she got threatened. She got death threats for performing in that style of music. And so she quit. But then Salt-N-Pepa came, revived their track, and this is probably the version of the track that more people know even than the original. This is En Vogue singing the hook. En Vogue were a really popular early 90s R&B lady group. I think there was a misconception that En Vogue was part of this group because of this song. That's how successful it was. They just fit right in there with their style. Most men are hoes. Salt-N-Pepa said it, never forget that. Salt was dating the rapper Tretch from Naughty by Nature at the time. I believe Tretch is in the video. So, Salt-N-Pepa dissed the men most of the time, but even they have to admit, if there's a good man in their life, that's worth celebrating. Trying to be a pimp. My name is not Susan. See, that's a good line. If you don't know, there's a Whitney Houston song called My Name Is Not Susan. That's where that line comes from. They were wearing a lot of flannel in this video. Even the rap groups are wearing flannel. Oh shoot, Tupac's in this video. I think he's coming up. Ah, Tupac! What are you doing in this video? Because his mama taught him that. See? Even Salt-N-Pepa know. Behind every great man. I'm going to play a little bit of the original just so you can hear what it sounds like. It's Linda Lindell. Lyndell. She looks so white. She's got this beehive hairdo. Anyway, you can hear that's the exact beat. Got a little more piano in it, I guess. Wow, it's actually kind of more forceful than En Vogue's version of the hook. You could say it swings a little bit less, I guess. Honestly, this beat kind of sounds like it's made for rapping. I can see why they used it. This is a song that is not as popular as the other two, but at the time this was played a lot, and I think the song is a blast, so I'm going to play it for you. This is an anti-slut-shaming anthem called None of Your Business. People were all up in Salt-N-Pepa's business, so they had to tell them off. And they are always in top form when they're telling someone off. So I guess Salt-N-Pepa were in the tabloids or something. They were slightly controversial, of course. Opinions are like assholes and everybody's got one. That is a good use of that phrase. So they really come with the punchlines in this. This is them just really asserting their right, once again, to be independent females with agency who can make their own decisions. They wanted to emphasize that as long as people know what they're doing and as long as they consent, then they can do whatever they want. That was their entire message. I'm a grown woman. I know my business. And, you can stay out of mine. We gotta do what we're here to do as humans. As long as we understand the emotional and the physical and health risks, then it's nobody's business, basically. And I'm gonna keep listening to this song. I'm just enjoying this too much. Your double standards don't mean shit to me. For mine, who's the guy that I took home to bone? What a good pause. They are just savage in this song. Tell us.
There's only one true judge, and that's God. So chill and let my Father do his job.
The label that they went to, unfortunately, went under pretty much right after they released their album on it. They didn't get any support and didn't get any promotion for this next album that they did. So this is from Brand New. That's their album, 1997. This is the only song I remember from it. It's called Are You Ready? This is more of a minor hit. This was not as big as any of the singles from Very Necessary, but I definitely heard it. It was around. Okay, now this is them trying to come into the 90s. They look totally different in this video. I don't know what happened. I guess it's just the fashions, mainly. They sound a lot more mellowed out on this track, too. This is basically a party jam. There's nothing wrong with them doing that. You know, Push It was essentially just a party jam. I do miss them having a more forceful message, telling people off. I felt like that was what they did best. I honestly remember the song being a little more hype than it is, but you know, you're not gonna run around going, "Get up on this!" when you hear this song. Salt-N-Pepa in a cowboy bar. Let's do this. This is kind of familiar too. Anyway, this is kind of more Jermaine Dupri style production to me. Who is this guy? He looks like Anthony Anderson. Oh, that's sample. I know that sample. Is that from a Rick James song or something? Let's Give It To Me, Baby. This is not them at their best either. Still gotta respect it though. They're still doing their thing. Let me see if I know this track. This is called Heaven and Hell. I guess this is also from Very Necessary. Oh, damn. You're getting socially conscious on your ass again. See, listen to that voice. They just spit so hard. That's what you want them to do on every track. When you can sound like that on a track, why would you want to sound like anything else? Brothers be trifling! In every Salt-N-Pepa song, man, there's diss to some kind of man. We needed Salt-N-Pepa to put us in our place in the 90s. Okay, so this is a song you did with Sheryl Crow called Imagine. I guess this is also from the third album. I had no idea Sheryl Crow was ever on a hip-hop track. That's why I want to hear this. It looks like a L'Oreal commercial, honestly. You know, Sheryl Crow's voice is a pretty good fit for hip-hop. I'm surprised she didn't do it more. She had kind of that raspy throat style. I don't know. It's like they lost their fire through the 90s or something. Maybe they just weren't so angry anymore. I really liked them as the angry female rappers of the 90s. Okay, so last week I did a video on Coolio, and I played a song from the Space Jam soundtrack he was on with 4 other rappers. And I didn't even notice that there was a Coolio song on Space Jam soundtrack. Solo. It was a song by Coolio called The Winner. So from now on, I'm going to make sure I always check the full track listing of the Space Jam soundtrack, see if one of the artists that I'm talking about has a song on it. Everybody I knew had the Space Jam soundtrack. I'm amazed that I never heard this. Oh, they're actually saying nice things about men again in this song. That's nice of them. I'm not sure who the producer is on this track, but it just doesn't quite work. So that hook, that sounds out of tune. It's just me? Are they singing the wrong notes? Well, I guess you could do that in the 90s. Didn't have any more albums in the 90s after Brand New. That was their last 90s album. I remember Peppa was on one of the seasons of Surreal Life. I don't remember which one. Yeah, they just went off, pretty much gave up on music. And I know they've been touring again for the past few years. They did get back together and touring their original lineup. I think they're touring as part of some kind of 90s nostalgia tour. I hope they have En Vogue with them. That would be great. There weren't really any other female rap groups in the 90s besides them. There were always solo female artists, and there were plenty of female R&B groups, but I don't remember a whole lot of female rap groups, and that's why I believe that Salt-N-Pepa deserve to have an entire video devoted to them. Their music definitely still deserves to be played, so maybe Deadpool 2 will have None of Your Business on it or something. I think that would be great. I hope that you enjoyed taking this trip through their music with me. Till next time, I'm the Jaquio. This was Bad 90s Music.